But of course, we do need to be mindful that it is only testing. As I say, lots of different run plans being done for lots of different agendas. It's unlikely we'll see the true performance of any of the teams until potentially as late as qualifying in Australia in just a few weeks' time. But from what we have seen, George, who looks like they've had a good season test? Who's starting 2025 on the strongest foot?
It depends how you look at it at the end of the day. I mean, if you look at the total amount of laps that these guys have done, it's quite tight at the top between three different teams. Mercedes, Haas, and the Racing Bulls have all done over 450 laps, and the next after that is Alpine at just over 400. So if you look at it from that point of view, they've done a lot of testing, they've done a lot of data gathering with that, which is positive. On the flip side of things, surprisingly, it's Aston Martin and Red Bull, significantly less than anybody else. They're just over 300, and then it's Sauber on just over 350 laps in total. But like we mentioned earlier on, that is still a gargantuan amount of laps. That is a lot of testing, even for the teams that have done less. So I wouldn't read too much into that. So the reliability in general is unbelievable right now. I mean, we saw probably five or so races last year where everybody who started finished. We're going to get the same this year, if not even higher. It's not going to be uncommon for all 20 cars to finish the race. And any kind of mechanical failure, I think it's going to be quite rare. You're only going to see people dropping out because of collision damage or maybe a puncture or something like that. Um, there is an interesting stat I found here as well in terms of the overall fastest times. And again, it is testing. You can't say that this is definitely 100% what's going to happen because we've seen, for example, I would definitely put the team that improved the most in terms of their overall lap time being Alpine. They managed to do a lap time that was 2 seconds faster than what they did in pre-season testing last year. But if any team needs a bit of good PR, it is somebody like Alpine. So if you're thinking cynically, which I am in their case, they've done that lap just to show that they are fast, and then they get to Melbourne and maybe they're not quite as fast. It's still a good sign, of course, but overall, I wouldn't read too much into that. Williams about 1.6 faster, then you've got Red Bull and McLaren about a second faster. Racing Bulls, you're talking less than half a second for them, and Sauber as well. So it all depends on how you look at it. I personally, and I've said this for quite some time, I would put three teams really in that top echelon of being able to challenge for the Constructors' Championship. You've got Red Bull and Ferrari. I don't think Mercedes will quite be there. I think Mercedes are probably going to get the odd win here and there. The tracks will suit their car in some conditions, cold conditions, like we've seen in Bahrain, surprisingly. We've gone to the middle of the desert and it's rained and it's been cold. Who would have predicted that? So basically, that's my kind of best guess. But like you said, we're not going to know truly until we get into the first qualifying in Melbourne when it really matters.
Yeah, definitely. And, the fact that we had teams actually bringing inters and wets to the Bahrain preseason test, we were making jokes about that before preseason testing actually started. And then we had rain. It was insane. How often do we get to see teams in a desert running wet condition tires? It's mad.